All right. Welcome, 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 everybody, to the Water Quality Management Committee meeting. It is June 24th, 9 a.m. And I'd like to welcome everybody online as well as everybody in the room. I believe we have a quorum, but I cannot confirm. Angie, can you assist me on that? Sure.
I am working from home today, so I can't see who's in the room. But we should need 6. So are there 6 people in the room? And we also have Darren online and Patty online, so you can add that.
Yep. So that should do it. We got 6.
Cool.
Great. Thank you, Angie. So a quorum has been established. We do not have any public in the room regarding, I guess, the 208 review, just so you know, Angie.
Okay.
But I do want to let anybody on the call who is here specifically for the 208 review to know that we have a couple items of business to get through before we actually get there, but we will get to the 208 review, I promise. All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve today's agenda. Thank you, Jonathan. Can I get a second? Joshua. Also looking for approval of the minutes from our April 22nd meeting. Thank you, Jonathan.
Second.
Wally.
If I could real quick ask everyone to make sure you're using your microphones.
It has been noted.
Yes.
All right, next up on our agenda is public comments or presentations. Is there anybody in the room or on the call that has any comments or anything they'd like to present on? I did not have enough time to look up a current event of wastewater plant, so we'll have to forego the entertainment for today. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is discussion items. As of right now, we have none. Is there anybody in the room or on call that would like to have any discussion? Hearing none. Moving quickly to our action items. So first on our action item list, we have a site application review from the Peyton School District. I know we have Greg on the call. Not sure if I see Teresa or not, but Greg and Teresa, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. I think this is Greg, and I think Teresa and Andrea are both on for support. Appreciate you taking the time and hearing our application. Just quick intro. Over 20 years ago, Peyton High School purchased a wastewater treatment plant used from a hog farm. And it has been a consistent challenge ever since, besides being completely worn out. Our current permit under Reg 22 is for 8,000 gallons per day through the state. We'd like to move it to the county under Reg 43 at 2,000 gallons a day. So we don't know for sure how old this existing plant is, but there's been a lot of challenges trying to get it to work. It's designed for a consistent flow. We were on a 4-day school week, and then you throw in spring break, Christmas break, and summer. There's nothing consistent about our environment. For over 10 years, our student population was pretty flat. Recently, we're showing some declining. We ran from 300 students pretty consistently. Last year, we had 270 students. This year, we're predicted to be about 263 for the junior high school. We had a failure where the plant was shut down for over 19 school days, or about 40 calendar days. And we had to rely on septic pump trucks. So we pumped in that time frame about 19,400 gallons, which puts us right about 1,021 gallons per day. We had multiple events going on at the time, school banquets, 7 athletic events, music and art performances, an all-day regional basketball tournament. So we're very comfortable with, we're right about that 1,000 to 1,100 gallons a day outflow. Technology of a proposed plant is going to be a lot more suited for our environment and should cut down on significantly on cost to the district as well as utilities. And at this point, I probably should turn it over to Andrea, who has a lot more technical expertise in this area. I'm sorry, Teresa.
You want me to take it? All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Connor, and I'm with my colleague, Andrea McFarland. We're with ERG, and we are working with Greg under EPA's Technical Assistance Program called Closing America's Wastewater Access Gap that looks at failing or lack of wastewater treatment systems. And so we've been working with Greg on kind of what can be done here in Peyton. And I might just share a PowerPoint a little bit and just, really, oops, that was not what I wanted to share. And just really kind of some of Greg's comments that led us to this system. Their current system is at life expectancy. They have a drain field, they have monitoring wells, they've been operating this system for some years, and it is just a challenge. It is an RBC with the volcano sand filter is the real challenge, and it goes to a drain field. The reason, really is that aging equipment. This rust, the system has rust all over it. Greg had a failure, couldn't get parts, had to actually 3D print parts for the system because of the age. And so the design capacity is a driver. They have to add a large amount of carbon because of the low flows and intermittent flows that they go. And so when we looked at, trying to replace a system in kind, although the technology will develop, it is still well below design capacity. Their flows are about 1,000 to 1,100 gallons per day. And so derating the system down to under 200,000 gallons is a recommended alternative. We do want to note there are some days of high flows over that 2,000 gallons. And so we went through the flow data and tried to correlate it to large events, and we couldn't. Like, these larger flows just occur at random times. And in talking with facility staff, they have to conduct a significant amount of backwashing of that volcano sand filter to keep it in operations, which runs at 10 gallons per minute. And there have been times when they've had to walk away and come back to it, and that can even be left on through the evening. And that would generate those high flows. And so as we look at derating, and just as Greg mentioned, they went through 19 days, school days, last year where they had to pump and haul. And the average wastewater flow rate, even though they had all of those, events, extracurricular activities, was at 1,021 gallons per day. So the data really supports this, kind of derating the system under 2,000 gallons. And the student population, as Greg mentioned, has been stagnant and actually declining. And so in really trying to right size this system, it is, permitting it for 2,000 gallons per day, or we have 1990 through the county. We've been working with the county and CDPHE. We included notes of those meetings in the packet you received. And there was support that this seems to be the right approach. And just so you know, we will keep the existing grease interceptor and septic tanks. There will, and the drain field, and replace that RBC and Valgado sand filter with kind of a package treatment, a recirculating filter. So in working that, we're going through this permitting process, which we need the 208 group sign off to submit to CDPHE. We're also working with El Paso County. Greg has received funding through the BEST grant through the education system. And we've got language, once we kind of get through permitting, we have language for an RFP and selection of design engineer and construction contractor. So that's the overview. We'd be glad to take questions.
Thank you, Greg and Teresa. Does anybody in the room or on the call have any questions for Peyton? All right, hearing none. I guess.
There's one
There's one
online.
online.
Oh, my bad. Robert, you have the floor.
You're
You're on.
muted.
Oh, hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Robert.
Yeah, okay, I'm the district manager of Paintbrush Hills, so we're right down the road from you. I was really just curious if my wastewater operators could just come by and just check out your plant, just for really informational purposes.
Sure. We can get contact information and I can set up a time to meet with you guys.
All right, okay, I'll reach out after the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, Greg.
you bet.
Robert, are you wanting to see the existing plant or the new plant or both?
Truly both.
Yeah, it's a good idea. These moments are good educational experiences to see out with the old and in with the new. Is Greg and Teresa, is the hope once you get this through CDPHE to have this complete by school's opening?
Actually, that would be a little aggressive. School starts August 17th. So on my grant application, I put in for construction during next summer.
Okay.
But I've got contingencies built in. We'd like to do it a little sooner if we can, but that's what, that's our worst case scenario. Where the plants are set up and the way we operate, I could do it during a school year with little or no impact to the students.
Great. All right, with no other questions or concerns, looking for a motion to move this site application, I believe would be onto the Citizens Advisory Council. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Do I hear a motion to move Peyton's site application onto the Citizens Advisory Council? So moved. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Joshua. Congratulations, you guys. Angie will be in touch with the date of the next CAC meeting.
Great,
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, thank you, Angie.
Okay, great. Next on with the action items is our site application review process, Appendix A edit. Angie, you have the floor.
All right. So I do want to tell everyone apologies for not being there in person. I am nursing an injury and so I'm not able to be there, but I do appreciate all of you guys. I know there's a few in the room. Thank you for being here online and thanks for taking the time to review these materials. So with that, I know we already moved this Appendix A, our site application review process, through all of the layers of the PPACG process. And it just came to my attention a couple of weeks ago. We had an application come through that was, according to Reg 22, only requires notification, like to the 208 agency, and is not required to go through our our review process. So I wanted to make sure we account for that in our in this Appendix A, so that when those applications come through, we have it in here that says we have a process to acknowledge those type of applications. So, Tommy, if you could share this screen, it should be on page 3 of the Appendix A, review process edits. And it just is adding a couple sentences, which I'll read it to you guys. For Reg 22, site applications that require notification only, such as with amended site applications, the applicant is not required to follow the PPACG review process. That is consistent with Reg 22. So then I added notification only site applications will be forwarded to the PPACG Site Application Review Committee for comments when received from the applicant. And then the SARC will have 10 days to review and provide any comments to PPACG to submit along with the application. And that's consistent with what the implementation policy says. So we actually get 15 days to review and comment, but giving the SARC 10 days to get them to me. So in case there's any comments, I package them up for CDPHE. So do you want me to share my screen? Is the screen being shared? We can't see it online. Oh, there it comes. Yeah, page 3. Oh. This is not the correct document. This is for the next agenda item. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Do you have the pink letters?
No. It should be highlighted in yellow, but I'm not sure what's
See it
being
now?
shared. I can't tell.
It just popped up, Angie.
Okay. All right. So that's just a couple sentences to be more consistent with what Reg 22 says for those applications that require notification only. So, hoping to get your guys' approval of this, and then we'll have to move this back through the process again. We can't hear you, Brandon, online.
Sorry, I was asking Tom if there was a way to zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier to read.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
So basically it goes straight to the SARC or straight to, yes, for the site application. Yeah, so it goes straight to the SARC. We have 10 days to review, and then we just throw it to the PPACG.
Yeah, and you'll send any comments to me, and then I'll give those to the applicant.
So there's really no vote as to whether or not to move it on. It's just to put eyes on it and give comments if we feel the need.
Right, yeah, because Reg 22 really doesn't give us any time really to go through and the applicant's not really required to go through our process either. They're not even required to get a signature from us. They could just ignore us completely and just be like, yeah, we notified them. So I wanted to account for that in our 208 plan.
Sure, that makes sense. Does anybody in the room or on the call have any questions or concerns for Angie with this added verbiage?
I don't have for everybody, viewing online. This is John Leosados. I'm the Transportation Director at PPACG. And I don't know anything about your process. In fact, Andy just wanted me here in case like a Jerry Springer thing happened and someone started throwing chairs. But I do want to say that this is very consistent with a lot of the other processes that we implement here at PPACG. And I wanted to note on that 5 days, you have 10 days, but she has 15. I have seen it way too many times where we'll send something out to a committee and say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Person A says, I think it should be blue. And then person B says, I think it should be red. And so we need time to go back to the committee, says, hey, we compiled all of your comments. Some of them are contradictory. I think I used that word correctly. And so how do you guys want to handle this? And we do it all by email. But again, these sorts of things where it's just where they're like, you're allowed to comment, but we don't need to take any of your comments. We're just trying to compile everything and send them up. And we can even do it where we give the comment. A majority of the committee thought red would be a good color, but we did have some a dissenting opinion for blue, whatever like that. But I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we're going to take everyone's comments and we're going to compile them, but there might be a little back and forth.
Thank you, John. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
Could you use your microphone, please?
Yeah,
We were just talking about that. Go ahead and
Okay.
say it and I'll respond. I'll relay it. Yeah, and the comment was, as long as we keep this committee populated, we refill any vacancies. Is that what you want me to relay? Okay.
I think Jonathan, Wally, and I can be the JV league. Okay. Hearing no additional comments, I'm looking for a motion, I believe, to approve the additional verbiage for relating to Regulation 22 site applications.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan. First, thank you, Wally. Second. Appreciate it. All righty. Now we're moving on to our next action item, draft 208 plan review, regional policies. Angie.
All right, so this is our first draft we received from our consultant working on the 208 plan. They had given me this draft. I reviewed and provided comments and some just basic general edits, and then I gave you guys the cleaned up version. I sent this out to our entire 208 plan stakeholder group, as well as you guys, the Water Quality Committee. I have received a number of comments via email from people who aren't able to attend today. And so I haven't had time to incorporate those in the version that you're looking at because I sent this out to you last week. But this won't be the only opportunity to comment and review on this. This is just, we do want to keep it moving though and get as much as we can to our consultant so they can keep progressing. Patty had given me some very amazing detailed comments through the whole document. So thank you, Patty. And because this is a 60-page document that we have to review, I don't think we want to go through, page by page. So I guess we'll start, we can start in the first section through the executive summary. And does anyone have, I guess, comments on that first chapter, beginning page 7?
Get a lot of no shakings.
No shake, okay. And Patty's online, so Patty, if you want to explain any of your comments, I have them up in front of me as well, but.
Yeah, when we get to those sections, I can do that.
Sure, okay.
Mhm.
All right, then, so we'll move on to section 2, our introduction. I do have a question for you guys in this. So we did The phase one asked us to put some language in here about like why do we even have the 208 plan? So that's in there. If you guys have suggestions on how to beef that up, go ahead. Where was it? Oh yeah, so Patty had a pretty good comment on the adverse social. So we're required to evaluate the impacts and effects of environmental, economic, and social impacts of implementing the 208 plan. So this has been added, and Patty had a couple things there. Section 2.4.2.2.
Yeah, in this section, we made a recommendation that it might be it'd be good to include just a discussion of is an adverse, impact, economic impact that when we go and we upgrade plants to meet stricter discharge limits and accommodate population growth, that does result in increased cost to our ratepayers, and that is an adverse impact. And then we thought it would be worth mentioning here the Colorado Revised Statutes, the 25A1025 requirement that basically says that that any water quality program, there has to be a cost benefit, a reasonable ratio, when we go for stricter standards, that effluent limits ultimately get derived of. So so yes, so they have to look at the public costs and the impacts of these measures, and that's required by the Colorado Revised Statute. So I can't remember off the top of my head what it said, but I gave Angie that language to plunk in there if she would like to.
So with all of these comments, I'm gonna put all of them in there unless I hear otherwise. So just so you guys know. So any other comments on that chapter 2 there, or section 2?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Then the third is concerning, third section, state and federal regulations and roles in water quality management. So we just wanted to tie together how all the federal and state regulations sort of give the 208 plan authority and where all of this comes from and how it's all connected. Because there was a lot of questions just from stakeholders initially of like, what is this thing? So we try to capture that through the regs. There's obviously, you saw there's a lot that still needs to be updated. Patty and Wally had given me some comments on temperature, which will be included. Just the regs that we need to look at. There's a CDPHE memo that will be incorporated. And then I'd also received another comment to include something here regarding metals, because there's a few site-specific standards for some of our entities for metals. And I think Fort Carson had one on rate. I don't remember what it was. Uranium, maybe? Something like that. I have it in the notes, so those will be incorporated. But are there any other things we need to include in this third section? Patty also gave some comments for PFAS and for biosolids, referencing different policies and regs.
How would we, what's any suggestions on how would we exactly bring up PFAS pollutant information in terms of, we don't really have any guidance as to what we're looking for right now. We're just kind of establishing, I think, a baseline through quarterly sampling of biosolids.
Yeah, we had just recommended that that maybe just mention how policy 20-1 in specified area 7. The state's using those to guide like discharge permit conditions and effluent monitoring for discharges in the area, you know, including like for construction, dewatering, other things. Just a very generic statement. And then maybe just mention that the CDPHE Water Quality Control Division does have a PFAS interim strategy in place that we need to follow. So just referencing those items.
Great, that makes sense.
On the biosolid side, wouldn't we want to include T-norm as a part of that? That's just as important as PFAS and everything else, so.
Yeah, I would agree that I think it needs to be brought to the forefront because that's, and even PFAS may have a bearing on us in biosolids as well. It has elsewhere.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what Jonathan's question was. Can you state that again? Or it's not your question, your comment?
This is Joshua, and
Oh, sorry.
it's about T-norm, so technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive material in biosolids.
Thanks.
Good job. TENORM?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Got that note in there. Anything else? This is a great discussion on this section. We also got to talk about non-point source. These are all, a lot of what we're talking about is, the reason we're talking about is because it's required, under the regulation that describes what's supposed to be included in the R208 plan, but we can include more than this. Okay. Are we good to move on then to section 4, regional policies and planning?
I just had one question on section 310 for water quality standards.
Mhm.
References Reg 41 and 42. But it talks about it was reviewed and both of them were reviewed in 2019, rulemaking scheduled for April of 2020. Is there something more recent than that we can put in?
There
Okay.
is. Yeah, there is. This is Patty, and we provided some information for Angie. So in 2026, the Water Quality Control Division, they did propose updating the Regulation 41 molybdenum water supply use standard to be consistent with Reg 31, and they're going to be taking it up at their October 2026 rulemaking hearing. It'll likely go through. And Regulation 42, similar, they just made some changes to Reg 42, like they worked on improving the tables, they corrected some typographical errors, they had some out-of-date references. And so they basically just cleaned Regulation 42 up, minor edits, and that will also be, those changes will probably be adopted in October of this year by the Water Quality Control Commission, but our comments relay that info to Angie.
Great. Thank you both on that one. All right, anything else there? Section 3?
Doesn't look like it.
All righty. All right, so regional policies, section 4. The purpose of this section is to, according to CDPHE, well, some of this is required. Again, most of it is required by the 208 regulation of what's supposed to be included. But it's also a section that's meant to establish sort of the regional water quality vision of like what are our goals and how do we expect water quality improvements to be implemented. And so this section, I don't know if you guys remember, but pretty weak in our current 208 plan. It's meant to have what, like an overview of what the current policies are and recommendations for how to implement. So implementation recommendations. So we beefed up those implementation recommendations for each policy. And again, these policies are a requirement. So we have, I think there's 8 or 9 policies. So we have a land use planning and development policy. Source water protection. Wastewater treatment facilities planning and development. And our regional policy statements are meant to be like, is this what you guys, how we see it broadly, how we want to capture this? We have agriculture and silvicultural. Urban stormwater. Riparian and wetland areas. On-site wastewater treatment systems. Residual waste, which still needs to be built out. We couldn't find, we're having trouble finding so far policies on residual waste. Patty did send me some good resources for those existing policies for El Paso County. We also don't have information on land disposal, which is another policy that's required to be included.
Yeah, and in our comments, we suggested defining residual waste because it's not defined in the document. I mean, we can kind of take a guess at what it's referring to, but we think it would be good to put a definition in there. And then, yeah, we just provided references like, for example, the El Paso County Land Development Code actually contains regulation for disposal of waste. And so we provided Andy with the reference to that section. So solid waste disposal, hazardous waste is governed by the state of Colorado and also by the El Paso County Land Development Code. So we gave Angie those the references to those sections and a link if she wanted to go and look at it. It's Land Development Code section 5.2.59, and that governs waste disposal, hazardous waste, and recycling. And then we had just provided some comments that we may want to mention in here that El Paso County does have a household hazardous waste disposal program that's available, to keep waste properly managed and not, impacting our water resources. So that could be mentioned in here as well. So, and then, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to include a mention of some of the local landfills like Midway, but you could, I guess. Some things like that. So, but I'm not aware of El Paso County having an actual like policy. I'm just aware that they have this this land development code and this gigantic section that covers waste disposal.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. Thank you, Patty, for sending those. So any comments from anyone else on any of these regional policies? This is also a section that's meant to be referenced when we look at any site applications. And when the intent is to also have our land use planning departments reference our 208 plan when, they're doing anything that impacts water quality. Whether they do or not is up to them. But that's the goal of this section. So any comments on this section 4? Other comments, I guess?
Angie, this is Roger. I'm not sure this is a place, but I think probably it would be good if we identified those entities or the areas that are subject to MS4 permits. And the county and the city both have really robust MS4 permit implementation programs. And those probably kind of serve as the basis of some of the county's land use code requirements as well.
Yeah, good point, Roger. And what I've heard from CDPHE is that we should call those out, yes. But those areas subject to MS4 permits have their own set of rules that are sort of outside of the 208 plan, like sort of above and beyond. So yeah, I think we could put it in. I'm not sure where either, but we'll give that some thought.
Yeah, I think we've become aware there's a lot of, shall I say, embedded MS4s, like Pikes Peak State College, for instance, has their own MS4 permit, and they discharge to CDOT's permit, and then it discharges to the county's permitted area. So there's a lot of that embedded stuff that so far I'm not aware of any major conflicts, but they're just kind of have a lot of regulatory control.
Mm-hmm, yes. Hey, others, anything else we want to include? Do you guys feel that you need more time to review this and we should bring it to our next water quality meeting, or are you feeling like we're ready to move this section forward to the CAC? This version of the draft with inclusion of your comments.
This is Brandon. Yeah, from my perspective, I think it's ready to move on to the CAC. Are there any other comments or issues with that?
I would agree with that.
Anyone object? Anyone like even anyone online just really want more time to review?
Seeing no comments, Andy.
Alrighty, well, if you guys think it's ready to go forward, obviously with inclusion of these edits, we'll just need a motion and a vote.
Right, can I get a motion to move so this is for the draft 208, correct? The entirety?
Not
Or-
the entire thing, just this section, which we can call the regional policies section.
All right, so looking for a motion to move the regional policy section of the 208 plan onto the CAC.
So moved.
Thank you, Joshua. Second,
Second.
Roger with the second. Thanks everybody for your input. It's really good work, Angie and Patty. Thank you for that. Roger, Joshua, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So we'll put those comments in and then move it to the CAC.
Good work, Angie.
Thank you guys.
Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 7, information items. State revolving fund annual eligibility survey. Deadline is June 30th.
Yeah, so you pretty much said it all. I just wanted to remind everyone, it's really important to complete this survey to capture what the financial needs are in our region. We reference this when we are approaching anyone in terms of advocacy for we need more funding for the state revolving fund. So if your items are captured, yeah, there we go. This is the website where you would fill out the survey. It's kind of down in one of those links. Anyway, it's good to have it captured whether or not you plan to apply for the SRF. There's the eligibility survey there. So I just wanted to remind everyone, so it should be easy to fill out. You have to fill it out once and you shouldn't have to fill it out every single year. They just send you a reminder of like, is this still good? And you say yes or no. So yeah, if you guys haven't done that, I encourage you to.
Any questions or comments for Angie on the state revolving fund survey? I agree. I think it's something I've done since I've been in this business. So, all right, moving on. Any member entity announcements anybody would like to share with us? Hearing none. We have meeting schedule on the agenda. I don't have one in front of me. Do you know when our next meeting is, Angie?
It will be July, probably the 22nd. July 22nd.
All right. All right, well, I will see you all on July 22nd. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn unless somebody else in the room or on the call has any other comments.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Wally. I get a second? Nothing. Thank you. Appreciate everybody. Thank you, Angie.
Thanks, everyone.